All right, this is the Committee on Legislative Affairs. This is Thursday, September 20th, 2018. We're at 6 p.m. I have Councilor Capone.
Yeah.
I have Councilor Hanlon. And I have Councilor Simonelli. We have 3 members present. We do have a quorum.
3 members present. We do have a quorum. Please stand and salute the flag. The audience can join us, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I have a communication from Councilor Marchese that he has another commitment this evening and will be unable to attend. We do have a sponsor in the audience. The chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and take items 9, and 10.
8.
Is 8 his too?
Yes.
That's the
You got the old one. There's
Oh,
only 9
okay.
pieces on the
Is that-
agenda.
Where's this one? I guess
Number 8.
8 and 9?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, number 8. This is a resolution brought by Councilor Napolitano that the city council rules be changed to prohibit any new business on the regular agenda from being addressed after 11 p.m. Item number 9, a resolution brought by Councilor Napolitano that a celebrations committee be added to coordinate celebratory events throughout the year.
Chair will entertain a motion to invite the sponsor up. We have a second? We got a second. Move and second to invite the sponsor up. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. Come on up and introduce yourself. John, can you grab me those?
Good evening, gentlemen. Peter Napolitano, Councilor at Large, Council President.
All right.
Okay.
Why don't you go right ahead, sir?
Okay. Regarding item number 8, changing the rules to address meeting, going beyond 11 p.m. First of all, this year we've left the council chambers 3 times after midnight. The thing is, how effective are we in our decisions after a certain point in time? I did some research. I checked with a few other cities councils just to get some sense of what their rules stand. And believe it or not, there were a lot of other city councils that have provisions like this. And the reason they do that is because, one, they need to make sure that that people are at their best when they're making these decisions on behalf of the city. And 2, it helps keep some of the things that cause these meetings to go longer than they are and contained. If you know that you're going to be here till 11 and you're going to have to come back the next night, it kind of puts you off a little bit. You might be a little less inclined to pontificate on a particular item when, in fact, it doesn't really need to be repeated over and over again. When you look at Robert's rules, the Robert's rules are very clear. Decisions are made by the council, but the investigatory portion of the meeting is done in committee. That means when you have guests up here, when you need to have somebody up, it's all that work is done in the committee. And the reason it's done in committee is there is no 5-minute rule in the committee. The 5-minute rules only apply to the regular meetings. That's where there's debate and discussion on whether to pass an item. We've gotten into by force of habit, our history. There's a number of reasons why we continue to go on, and we don't actually honor that. We'll bring people up here during the regular meeting, and the next thing you know, we're 45 minutes into a discussion. And really, at some point, you just have people just repeating the same thing over and over again. Now, I'm not asking you to make a decision tonight. I'm asking you to research this and look into it and draw your own conclusions whether or not there's a benefit to this. Okay, this is a suggestion that originally started with our assistant city clerk. Town of Stoneham has a provision where they conduct no new business after 11 p.m. and at that point you stop. You complete whatever business is before the body, and then you pick it up the next night. And they found that that's what started this research, and they found that it helps manage the meeting and the times a little bit different because now you know you have a bit of a deadline. In the 6 years that the new city council has been together, we've only stayed past midnight 3 times. It's all been this year. for whatever the reason being, we've all got our own conclusions. But when you bring a department head up before the entire body, that opens up a can of worms for questioning. And as myself mediating the meetings from the chair, as much as I try to give you a warning and hold you to 5 minutes, I'm equally not as comfortable enforcing that as you having to stop in the middle of a discussion to do that. Okay, it's not a power trip and it's not anything that I relish. But on the other hand, imagine what would happen if I allowed you to speak 10, 12 minutes on an item. Add that extra time to the way our meetings have been going, and we could be getting out here at 1 o'clock in the morning. So the original intent from parliamentary procedure is for that all to be done in committee where there are no time limits to be able to speak. Get all your questions out and then make your recommendations and send it before the board. Whether we go in that direction or we don't go in that direction, enforcement-wise, again, is whoever's sitting in the chair. But, I think we need to look at some other safeguards here, because otherwise we're not doing our best work at midnight, okay? And the irony is, and I think every one of you, because you all have been there, generally after 11, all we get is a few people who like to comment about how late we're there. And they add another 5 to 10 minutes to the discussion, instead of just keeping it quiet, finish, and adjourn. So, again, I'm not looking for you to make a decision tonight. I'm asking you to keep it in committee and do some research on it. And if you agree that it's something at least to have in there as a safeguard, you're already in the midst of doing rules changes, all you need to do is refer this to the committee that's doing, the work group that's doing the rule changes. But, again, I'm not looking for you to make a decision tonight. I'm looking for you to be open-minded about this, take a look at what kind of work we're doing and the quality of the work that we could potentially be doing and how we can better manage it so we're being more effective as a team.
Any questions at all? Okay. Sure. Sure, you're here for the next piece too.
Yes,
so
I am.
We'll do exclude with the customary thanks, but just sit tight because you have the next piece coming up, and Council Hanlon, you have the floor.
Mr. Chairman, through you, to anybody who wants to listen, I've been at meetings that have been midnight, 1, 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning, and at those meetings, I have never heard anyone say we should not stop meeting at 11 o'clock, and it's only been recently that we've been hearing that we should be doing that. One of the big reasons for our delay is the lengthy time that people talk about things that are not on the subject matter that we're talking about. And that should be stopped immediately. If it's not on the subject matter, it should be stopped. The other thing is, which causes a lot of confusion and delay, is we take things out of order all the time. Let's take 5, 9, and 12. Why? Because it makes, no, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Take it in order the way it should be. And so that's my feeling. And I know what Peter's talking about and everything, people that get to work, but, I worked myself back in those days. And I was at work at 7 o'clock the next morning, and it never bothered me or anything like that. But I can understand his reasoning and his point. But my point is, we could do these meetings much better if, and I don't mean nothing about the chairmans or anything like that. The chairman should not talk. The chairman should not say a word about anything, should not debate. If he wants to get on the floor, he shouldn't talk from the chair, anywhere. He should not talk. If someone asks him a question, yeah, but the answer is yes or no. Not, well, let me see, back in '64, no, that's not the thing that we're supposed to do. Chairmen, if you want to talk, chairmen take the seat down here, let someone else take the chair. When it's finished, they swap places again. That's what it should be. And I know that when you get up and you want the chair, you want to, and I did it too, because you want to talk and you want to explain things, you want to talk about rules, and that's not for you to do. It's to tell them, no, you can't do that, period. That's it. They dealt the chair, you take a vote. If the chair is upheld, okay, he's upheld. If not, then you go into the longer meeting. But I think that's problem, and that's something that we should do, is go by our guidelines. Do not take things out of order. Do not allow anybody to talk about things that have no meaning whatsoever of the subject matter at hand, I witnessed an accident down there the other day, and so I don't want that to happen on Main Street. That's got nothing to do with Main Street. I want to talk about Main Street. That's the kind of a thing I'm talking about. And that's the kind of a thing we should consider. So if we're going to consider things like stopping at 11 o'clock, we should consider all of these things that make it why we go up to 11 o'clock. Because I know that, I've been to council meetings in Malden, their big calendars, it lasts 45 minutes, because they do things a different way. And maybe we should start thinking about doing things a different way, too. Everything that comes before the council is referred to committee. The council does it, what the committees decide, that's what the council approves at the next meeting. What does the committee vote on, 1, 2, 3, pass it, don't pass it, whatever. And that's how they just do it in Malden. That's why they get out in 45 minutes. So maybe we should rehash the whole idea again. But that's all I'm just saying. I want to say a few words about it, because I was thinking about it at home. And I personally like the meetings and everything, and I don't mind staying here at all, if I'm getting information. But sometimes I sit here and just listen. Now, I could go on talking for 20 minutes and saying the same thing over and over and over that I just said. And you would sit there very nicely and politely and listen to me. But this is where someone's got to say, John, you said it all, that's enough, thank you very much. And that's what I'm talking about, that's what you got to do, even here and even in our committee meetings. So with that, I rest.
Okay.
Thank
So
you, thank you.
I think the the sponsor's request was perhaps it would be, to be considered as a rule change, it's something probably should be referred to our work session on rules. And if so inclined, the chair will entertain a motion to that extent.
Well, I don't know.
We could talk about it more in the rules session. Because we are working on the rules now.
I'd like to let it stay in the committee. So
Okay.
we get a full committee back. We only got one more member, right? One more person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Well,
wait till we have a full
rules,
committee.
yeah, the
Actually,
rule
you've got a
session is
quorum.
the full committee anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's just instead of it being formally on the agenda out here, we'd be dealing with the other rule changes in the back. But either way is fine. I think
That makes sense, too. That makes
whatever
sense,
you
too.
want to do.
So I'll make that motion then.
Okay, so moved to, do we have a second? All right, it's been moved and second to refer this item to the work session on rules within our committee. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. You have so referred. Item 9. Okay, so sponsor again, number 9.
Okay, we have a celebrations budget for the city council. We're participating in different events now, 4th of July, concerts. We've participated in the past with the movie night. This year we didn't, only because it was just too much going on for one person to manage. This isn't something that should be a memo or something dropped on. What I'd like to see, because we have a budget for this, I'd like to see a separate committee that is now responsible for making sure that these events are organized. I've run like crazy this year. Last year it was Councilman DePiero and a few others. To make sure that everything is managed, to make sure that we have the tents, to make sure that homecoming, we have a presence, or that we're not excluded. And if we are included, that we're there to do something. Just putting together for tomorrow night was all cobbled together in about 20 minutes yesterday afternoon. Well, not everybody who's going to involve this got that time frame. There should be a little more if we're spending city money, I think it needs to be a little more formal structure. So to make sure that gets done in a more effective manner, that the monies are managed, that there's ownership to whoever is responsible for appearing at, whether it's the watermelon eating contest, whatever the case may be. I think it's important to have rather than a special committee appointed, on short notice, that we have a committee that's in place. If you think about the number of events we do, it's not something that's going to meet on a regular basis or a monthly basis. But when we are planning for these type of things, and we get a note from the mayor's office or from an organization outside asking us to participate, you know who the chair is, you know who the people involved are, you know who's going to be responsible for making sure it gets done, and then everybody else that comes in to volunteer is just that, it's a volunteer. So I'd just like to see it a little more structured than it is. Prior to last year, we did not get involved in these type of things. Last year set the tone. This year, we're trying to continue to keep that tone going. I think it's a great idea for the council representative as a whole to be able to give back to the community, but I think it needs to be a little tighter than it is so we have some accountability.
Okay, any questions from the membership?
No questions?
Okay.
All right, make a statement?
Yep, so
I,
what we'll do, this is the second piece, so entertain a motion to excuse with customary thanks.
Okay, yeah.
Moved.
Thank you.
We have a second?
Second.
There we go, so moved. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Council Hamlin,
Mr.
you
Chairman,
have the floor.
I couldn't agree with him more. That's absolutely what we should have been doing. We had a celebration committee years and years ago, and it worked pretty good, and I think we should have one back. Since I'm reading the paper here, it says it also requires a rule adoption, we should refer this to the work session group. So I'll make a
Makes sense.
motion that we refer this to the work session group with a recommendation that we seriously consider making a separate celebrations committee.
Is there a second? Moved and second, refer the item to the work session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Let's see. We have our Mr. Soper in the audience. Which piece is he?
Those are 8 and 9, right? We did 8 and 9?
I believe Mr. Soper is here for item number 3. So the Chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules, take item number 3,
This is,
if the membership is so inclined.
make a motion, we take item 3, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Moved and second, to suspend the rules, take item number 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The
All
ayes
right.
have it.
Item number 3, this is ordinance by Council Napolitano. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that Section 3-33, keeping hens and poultry of the revised ordinance of the City of Everett be amended.
I see Mr. Soper in the audience. If the membership would be so inclined to ask him to come forward. Do we have a motion on that?
Oh, I'm so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second? Moved and second, invite Mr. Soper
I'm
forward.
sorry, I'm busy
Please,
reading.
please come forward and introduce yourself.
Before he starts, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, with him being there, it's okay. I have a couple of comments, not comments, but suggestions or whatever I want to make here, that I'm not too happy about the way that we received this, okay? And what I'm going to talk about is like, it says, be it ordained by the city council. The next line underneath that, it says, to delete section G2D of chapter 3-33. And I don't know what that says.
Yeah.
Also, be it further ordained to delete section G3 of chapter 333. I don't know what that says either. Delete G5 of chapter 33, I don't know what that is. And to delete G6 of chapter 33 in its entirety and replace it with the following. And I see all the replacements here, those are okay. But the fact is, I don't have anything to compare it to.
Sure. So you're thinking going forward, if there's any deletions, amendments, whatever it is, the language to be removed or amended should be provided
Yeah,
somehow.
I mean, we can take and we can print it, this is what G2D of chapter 33 says. And to be replaced by and put it in italics, or put it in bold or something like that.
That makes sense. Otherwise, you have to do independent research and go and find it
Right, yeah.
and look at it. So it's better to have it all together. It's a good suggestion.
So with that,
Okay.
Jim Soper, Director of Inspectional Services.
Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Clerk, if I recall correctly, I think it was Council Marchese had a question about, because there was some language, and it talked about setbacks, and then it talked about the zoning. Yeah, there was a section that it referred to, and then we were looking for clarification on that. One was setbacks, and I think there was some language about the height of a structure. And we're trying to figure out, if this comes in, exactly what kind of dimensions we're talking about for a hen house in terms of height, and then distance from lot lines and all that stuff. Is
So
that
we-
accurate?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with the ordinance that you're speaking of tonight that you want to amend. However, I'm more familiar with the zoning ordinance and the dwelling districts in which these accessory structures may be located, these hen houses. So we have setback requirements for accessory structures in the dwelling district, okay? We have many other districts, but this district requires setbacks for accessory structures of 2 feet in the rear yard and 4 feet on the side yard. And these accessory structures are noted as sheds and garages.
Is that in Appendix A in zoning?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. That's what we have in here. And I think that's what we were looking for clarification on, the setbacks within that zoning ordinance. And then I think there was something talked about height, too, in that section.
Excuse me, I'm just looking that up.
Yeah.
So the total there is no height limitation
Okay.
noted for
Okay.
what we would call accessory structures, garages and sheds. There's setback requirements. And we have height regulations in that district of 45 feet.
The max height.
That's the max height.
So
Way
you could have a 45-foot hen house.
Right. A little large.
Okay. And then, and I'm sorry, the dimensions you mentioned again on lot lines, just for a
2 and
clear.
4.
So
2.5,
2 and 4, the side yard is, just want to make sure I get this right. The side yard is 2 feet, rear yard is 4 feet.
Okay.
But those are for, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, those are for garages?
Garages and sheds,
sheds.
which
Yeah.
you shouldn't have a lot of noise coming out of that. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have animals that close maybe to the lot
Yeah.
lines. That's one of the.
Which could be considered, they're considered accessory structures.
You could, under Mass General Law 48, Section 6, you might just, if I had to just look at that and say, how would I permit that structure, I would look at it as if it was an accessory structure and say, that shed, that chicken shed, has to
Okay.
be
Yeah,
4 and 2.
yeah.
So,
In the piece before us here that Councilor Marchese was looking for, with regards to that setback, it's saying that a hen house and attached pen must conform to those setbacks for accessory structures pursuant to Appendix A. So you'd have a hen house that could be within 2 and 4 feet from a lot line. So let's get your opinion on that.
so my opinion would be hen houses could be fairly noisy, and they can be fairly dirty. And I'm speaking from some experience. My daughter has a hen house in Maine. And other animals would be attracted to those because they are prey. Animals will look to eat. And they're a fairly dirty area around there as well. There's often feathers that are blowing around outside the cage. The holes aren't very big. So my recommendation is that we pull those more into the lot and establish something more on the 10-foot side of things, like 10 foot from the rear, 10 foot from the side, giving plenty of room.
10 foot from the, excuse me, 10 foot from the back? Is
Yes,
that what you said? Okay.
yes, and that they shall not be allowed in the front yard at all. You don't want these in front of the house.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get the clarification of what the last committee meeting was. Now, membership free to ask any questions, if there are any questions of our
Yeah,
guest.
I would.
Counselor Hanlon?
You just mentioned there's something you're not allowed in the front yard. What is the front yard?
The front yard in our zoning ordinance is the area between the front lot line,
Okay.
which is basically at your sidewalk, right, to the structure, That all the way across the horizontal, from lot line
Okay, got
side,
it.
lot
Yeah,
line
yeah.
side, is your front lot
No,
line.
I was just thinking of the side. So none of the side is considered, would that be considered side yards?
It would, none of the side yard is considered front yard.
Okay.
So that's the say, I know I'm
Does this exist as it is?
imaginary lot. And if this is the street down here, and the house, the structure was
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle, it would be from the lot line up, right
Okay.
across.
Okay.
And so a hen house not allowed in the front yard would be allowed in the side, or rear.
Okay, gotcha.
But with the distances, and I might recommend that that distance be from the structure as well. This 10-foot be from the rear, side, and structure. So there is some distance
Well,
there.
that, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be okay if the space was available.
That's-
But, so what you're saying, if you don't have 10, 10, and 10, and I would imagine you'd want some sort of a distance from the front of the hen house to the back of the residence house, a
That-
space there, so that's another space requirement, so you have to think about that, we need a 10, whatever the coop would be, and 10 feet anyway,
Mhm.
and so how big is the coop gonna be, let's say 10 feet, that would be, they need a 30-foot backyard
Right.
to have a 10-foot coop, plus then you need 10 feet on each side, which would
Yes.
probably fit anyway, because if the house is 40 foot
Right.
wide.
But in the dwelling district, the ordinance requires a 25-foot rear yard setback,
Yeah.
as it is now, from the rear lot line to the dwelling itself. So we're pretty close to obtaining that 30 feet if you did 10, 10, and 10. So I agree, we might want to play with those numbers a little bit, so you could fit it in the 25-footer. And maybe you would say, protect the neighbor with the 10 feet, and allow the burden to be on the house if it was going to get closer, so maybe 5 feet from the dwelling. But some of it becomes a sanitary issue as well. Odors, I'm sure there's some bacteria and bugs involved and all that stuff if it's not clean on a regular basis. So that's the reason we should think about, because there's going to be tenants in these houses as well, right? This could be a two-family with a first floor occupied by a tenant who's got to live with that beside the window. So we might want to think that might not be far enough away to be 5 feet.
I know, and it's, it's not bad having chickens, it's not a bad idea,
Yeah.
You said your daughter has chickens?
Yeah, she gets eggs.
I had chickens in Vermont, we had 45 chickens,
Wow.
and the backyard happened to be 14 acres. So that was, just for the chicken, actually we used it for something else too, but they were free-range birds when we were up there. And when we weren't there, we had a silo type setup for the feed, and we had running water.
That's quite the farm.
So that was, it was big. And we had 45 chickens, but the coop wasn't that big. It was like 8 foot wide and maybe 12 foot long.
Really?
Yeah, and we had chairs so they could go to laying up in the, where they had, we had like three 5-foot sections, 3 5-foot boxes for the chickens to lay in, even though we had 45 chickens, so you could only 15 could be in there at a time.
send it out?
We never saw like more than 4 at a time. They just go up and do their things, and they all roosted at night. We had bars that went across on angles, so that they could all get up and roost. And you know where they went up? Way up in the top, where we had a little vent all around the thing. They stayed up there all the time, winter, summer, spring, and fall. So the chickens do what they want to do, but we never had,
Did you ever heat them? Did you have to heat the house? Did you have to heat that hen house?
Well, we could talk
He didn't
about
know.
setback.
No heat at all?
no, it was as warm as anything. You go in there, and the chickens are dying to get out, even in the wintertime. They come out in the snow and everything,
Interesting.
But, the thing I'm just trying to say is that it was like clean all the time. I mean, we swept up a little sawdust from the floor. And the floor, we only put a little bit of straw down on it, that's all. And when we swept that up once a week, we just, whatever came in, we swept it up, we throw it in the fireplace, and it would burn. So, outside fireplace, not inside, so I never noticed that there was any kind of insects or bugs or whatever. Of course, the chickens like the bugs anyway, if there were some. So I don't know where to go with this. I mean, I know people want to raise chickens, they should have a right to raise chickens, I mean. And if you're going to limit it to 6, you might as well forget it altogether, because 6 chickens won't give you a week's supply of eggs. Everybody thinks a chicken lays 1 egg a day. It doesn't, so, anyway, so that's, thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Great.
for that.
Any other questions of our guest? Seeing none, we'll excuse customary thanks.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for appearing. So, to the membership, we have a couple of issues now with this. So we have the items that are in bold on this handout that are things that were being looked at for entertainment, for amendment. And now we have a new issue that's been pointed out, that the setbacks, as they exist in Appendix A, and keep in mind that this is an ordinance that already exists. So there's already some sort of regulation going on with hen houses. However, under the current,
Oh, did he?
yeah.
One more question?
Sure, do you want to call him back up?
Just from there.
Sure.
A 25-foot setback, you think we could put in a chicken coop?
Yes, we can.
We can?
Yes.
Within the 25-foot?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as the ordinance currently stands, the setbacks are only 2 and 4. And clearly, we just heard that can create a lot of problems, health-wise, et cetera, nuisance, noise, all that kind of stuff. So if we're to do anything with that, because it's zoning, it's got to go to the planning board. So we have a couple of things on our lap right now. We have amendments on other things, and we can take those individually if you want, and then we could refer out at least that section to the planning board to have them look at it, because there are 2 issues that we have. One is the setbacks, because we have 2 and 4 feet, which clearly isn't enough space for abutters. The other thing is there was a height restriction on these accessory structures, as alluded to, 45 feet. So someone could get really cute and have a 45-foot hen house right now, the way it's set up. So we need to kind of get, I think we need to get the zoning portions of this over to the planning board for setbacks and height. restrictions on hen house type structures. And then we have the other stuff that we have to look at. So I just wanted to clarify that from the chair, so I leave it up to the membership how you want to do
So what's the
this.
exact wording we want to send to the planning board?
Well, we have to have them review this particular section. The recommendation will be out to the body.
Yeah.
And the body would have to refer it to the planning board. And the recommendation is what we're looking at. Sure. So we heard that 10 and 10 is a good setback, and perhaps a minimum of 5 feet from the actual house on the property. And then the other thing is, we've got to look at limiting the height. And you're our resident gentleman farmer, so you probably have better knowledge as far as how high that type of a structure should be in a city setting. What would be your opinion on that?
We had a very, very small pitch roof, maybe a foot. But other than that, it was 8 foot, standing inside 8 foot tall.
8 foot?
We just 8 foot pieces of plywood.
Okay.
put it up, you know, so it was 8 foot tall, and maybe with another 1 foot for the peak on the top of it, so you have water would run off.
Okay. So you think 9 foot total height?
Well, and then we put it on blocks. We put it on cinder blocks, and we anchored them down so that you would have another foot, so that the thing wouldn't, you know,
Yeah.
get damp and get with water soaked and all that kind of stuff, you know.
We got to keep in mind, we are a city.
Yeah, I know, you know.
So, I mean, if you're talking about pitch, blocks, and
well, we
height
could
of,
put,
you could be saying 10 feet,
Sidewalk bricks, those are only, what, 4 inches?
you know?
So like
Yeah,
nine,
it
9
seems
foot
kinda
4
high.
inches would be max, 9 foot 4 inches max,
9.4?
with the house being 9 foot.
All right, so you could round it to 10, you could round it to 9, or you can leave it at 9.4. It's totally up to the
Well,
body,
I think
so.
at 9 would be perfect, but you want a 4 foot block underneath it, at least a 4 foot block, you know?
Oh, the
Sidewalk,
4 inch, yeah.
you know.
Okay. Yep, so the recommendation I'm hearing is height of a structure of that nature would be 9 foot, no more than 9
No
foot
more
4
than 9 foot.
off the ground.
Yeah, up the foundation,
Yep,
which is no more than 4 inches.
okay. So we could say 9 foot 4 including foundation. So
Yes, 9
from
foot
from
4,
ground
including
level.
yeah.
Okay. And then we were looking at the rear and side
No,
lots,
that's
10
us to
feet.
do, is that for the zoning to do?
Yeah, these are all, we have to make a
Okay,
recommendation to them. So
Okay.
the recommendation would be height from ground level, no more than 9 foot 4 inches. And then the setbacks would be side yard, from other properties, it would be setback for side and rear would be no less than 10 feet. And then we've got the other little wrinkle in there about how far from the actual dwelling structure on the lot itself, where the hen house is going to be. And I think there was a recommendation that would be no less than 5.
Oh, no, absolutely, I was
Yeah.
thinking more less than 10.
Yeah,
know,
and you could
would-
do
would-
that,
would
you could do, so
open
it's
up the
10
yard.
from every angle, and then
Yeah.
if you can do it, you can do it, and if you can't, you can't. Because if you're that tightly confined, maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, and it's too close to the house anyway, because
Yeah.
of you know, what would be the predators around here if there were any? Skunks, raccoons, possums, mice, rats, those kinds of things, and you don't want it really too close to the house anyway. You know, so I would get it as far as we can get it off the house, if it,
Okay,
10,
so,
8,
so that particular section that we would be referring, well, we would be making a
I
recommendation to
would
the
say
body.
13 feet. 'Cause
From-
8 feet, 10 feet is 18, if the coop is 18 foot wide.
Yep,
10 feet for the rear structure, so you got 13 to the 25 foot, so I would make it 13
Yeah.
foot.
yeah, I mean, they can do any dimension they want on the structure, but, so we would be looking at would be, well, it depends on how big your lot is. Yeah, so I'd say the thing we should probably focus on is just the distance from the house, the distance from the lot lines, and then their parcel land's gonna dictate how big they can make it. You know, I guess, as long as they have,
Well, that's what we said, backyard is 10,
Yep.
side yard 10, side yard 10, distance of
yep,
the house. is
10
15.
from, yeah, distance from the house,
That's
10.
25 foot, that's the
And then-
minimum we have in a backyard right now, is 25 feet.
and then height of the structure, 9.4 from the ground level. So, 10, no less than 10. Yeah, it's 10 from all structures and lot lines, and then the overall height of any kind of a structure would be no more than 9 foot 4 inches from ground level. So we would be making that recommendation out to our body, to refer to the planning board with those dimensions in place. And then it'll be debated on the floor, and either it'll go that way, or they could even change it then. But,
Now, was there a third one? Another one?
height and then the distances.
We
So,
got that, we got
yep.
that. What else?
No, I think, well, that's for the planning board.
Yeah.
And then there's those bold ones that, are whether or not we're gonna adopt them or not, so.
I would say that we, if we could I'll make a motion that we refer those questions to the planning board.
Okay,
All right, questions. Now, they would have to act on that, right?
yeah,
All right,
Yeah.
we're not gonna ask them to act on it, or we ask them just if they would accept it?
No,
What-
you have to.
yeah,
you have-
because it's planning.
You have to introduce an ordinance.
Okay, all right.
Give them specific.
Okay.
So, because they're gonna have to advertise,
Okay,
and they're gonna have to do a public hearing.
right, right.
On what the restrictions are gonna be. And
Okay.
then they will make the
Okay,
recommendations.
so then don't send it to the planning board yet, all right?
Okay.
But I really would like to see, and they may be okay, but I would like to see those deleted sections.
Okay,
Yeah, and there was 4 of them.
okay. So I would assume then the motion would be to grant further time, iron those things out, get together the language through, to our clerk. Should we refer this out to the planning board all as one final item?
Yes.
Or just the zoning things is all we need to do?
What you need to do is you need to pass the ordinance. And what you do that, because it's pretty insensitive.
Yeah.
Do a separate ordinance requesting that the planning board. that
All right.
particular section.
So let me ask you this, would it make sense to bifurcate this? Keep this portion in, refer out that section to the body to make a recommendation for it to go to the planning board? I think that's probably the best thing to do, because right now, the limits are 2 and 4, and the height could be 45.
Right.
What a nightmare that could be. So, so the chair would entertain a motion that we bifurcate this, and we'll retain all the other stuff, but we'll send out to our body a recommendation that height and distance, as we discussed here tonight, be referred over to the planning board for their review.
We gotta have the whole ordinance done.
Well, the only thing that we really need them to do is the zoning part of it, because the rest of it is just, that's what I'm asking.
What you have to do is you're gonna, basically, you have to, you're actually amending this particular ordinance,
Yep.
this particular section,
Yep.
in the reference to Appendix A zoning, under C, Section 2, paragraph D,
Yeah.
is what you have to reference.
Right.
That they do setbacks as
Yep.
we just.
Right, and that's why I was saying, is it all right to bifurcate it that way? And that way, we're hanging on to the amendments in-house.
We could put an
We're
ordinance
just-
together, referencing in the section that's in it.
Yeah.
This is what we're looking to do.
Yeah.
Then they're gonna go ahead and advertise.
Yeah, well, because this is in front of us, so that we don't lose any time, make a recommendation that that section be referred over to the planning board with those parameters in place. And then they can run off and do their thing, and we just will continue to amend the ordinance however. Yeah, I think that's what we should do. So, okay. So, the motion that would be entertained would be that we bifurcate this, we maintain the amendments in committee requesting further time, and then with regard to this particular section, which is 3-33C, no, it's actually D.
Yeah, the four sections mentioned in this, that they should be,
Yeah.
you should get the other.
C2D, I guess is what it is, and get the dimensions over to the planning board and have them review it. So, I will accept that in the form of a motion.
So moved.
Okay, we have a second? It's moved and second to act in that fashion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Is there another one?
There is it's item number 2 was Council Marchese's piece. He did leave with me his suggested changes. Mr. Soper may have an interest in that, so we could take that one, if the membership is so inclined. Spend the rules, take item number 2.
That's item number 2.
Okay?
So,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gotta come back to us.
Yeah.
So why don't we just leave it in committee?
Oh, item number 2 is, Council Marchese left me some changes that he had suggested. So we have Mr. Soper here. I know that he might have some interest in it. So we could take that one while he's here and then,
Come before us then?
okay. So move the second, suspend the rules, and take item number 2.
Item number 2 is ordinance sought by Council Marchese to amend by deleting section 10-27 inspection request before occupancy of Article 3, certificate of habitability.
Okay. And if you would you like Mr. Soper before us?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, so moving second to have Mr. Soper before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. If we could please have Mr. Soper before us. And Mr. Soper, if you could please just introduce yourself one more time. Our memory isn't that short that we forgot you in 10 minutes, but
Jim Soper, Director, Inspectional Services.
thank you very much. I'll iterate what the changes were from Council Marchese. Right now, the inspection is mandatory, and what he would like to do is, instead of it being mandatory, make it voluntary, so that an owner, instead of shall, every time an apartment is vacant, get an inspection from the city, it could become something that's voluntary, that the owner may request it. The owner may think that it's a good thing to have the certificate in the event that the tenant at some point complains that the conditions of the apartment weren't in such a condition. And what he further wanted to do is he wanted to restructure the language that in such an event that there was an inspection requested, that ISD would only be able to have access to that unit and any other common area, and limit it to that. So that's what he was looking to do. So I know that Mr. Soper's department is responsible for those inspections, and there are valid reasons why you'd want to do the inspections. So I'll leave it to the membership if you have questions to ask, if there's any concerns with those changes or whatnot, so.
Just, if we can, just have Mr. Soper, comment on that, and where would be the problem if we just, we're having a new house being built, and a new apartment being built, and it went through the zoning and whatever, and we finally got the addition put onto the back of it, and now we want to rent the place.
So this covers more than just a new apartment.
Well, anything, we do something, something new, we did something different to the building.
The only thing that we did different to the building was a resident left, an existing tenant left. It became vacant, and now, before a new tenant comes in, the requirement is to do that inspection. So the idea is that we make sure that that apartment, that dwelling unit, meets the minimum standards of habitability. So things like this: hot water, does the toilet flush, do you have GFIs, do you have a lock on the door, do you have screens in the windows, do you have smoke detectors? Now, without us being there, without us getting in there to see these things just don't get done. And so you have children, people living in these conditions, and they're unaware that these things should be provided for them. So it becomes somewhat dangerous. Those things I listed outside of the screens really are dangerous items in our code that actually require 24 hours for them to be fixed. And so those are the most important things we do. And this is a value to the homeowner as well, and you've probably heard this, but once we've done our inspection, if there are items that need to be repaired, we make sure they are repaired, we review and we re-inspect, and we give you a clean bill of health with a certificate that you can use if you're ever in the position as a landlord to have to evict somebody because or during that eviction they damage your walls, pull your cabinets out, let the sink run over. We've seen it all intentionally. That the homeowner who is in that condition, the landlord, is now in front of the judge, and we provide that owner for that $25 a certificate that they can show to the judge that when this was, before this tenant came in, this was inspected and this passed all the conditions of the minimum standards of the state health sanitary code. And that's a value. And a lot of good landlords see that as a value. We have very little problems with the good landlords, but we do have a lot of one-time landlords, professionals who don't do this on a regular basis, who really don't know. So it becomes an education for them. It becomes an education for the tenant, too, as well. And, all these things, there's extenuating circumstances. You don't have heat, you don't have hot water, then you start getting sick, and the flu gets spread around, school. There are things that extend beyond what you do in your house. And we need, as a city, to at least make sure that when this is original, it only happens one time. So you live in there for 5 years. We don't go in there again. we need to make sure that you at least begin with the minimum standards of habitability. So we're not, we're not overburdening the owner of the property with this at all. This is a very small fee and a very good service provided for landlord and tenant. Tenants have a lot of rights in the state of Massachusetts. And then I'd like to go on a little further about item number 2, where, you know, outside of making this voluntary, because I don't think that a lot of people won't volunteer, the issue of saying, hey, look, at when you enter this house and you are slated to inspect unit number 3, and you walk by unit number 1, unit number 2, unit number 3, and unit number 4, and it's really only supposed to be a 3-unit building, well, that's cause for concern as well. For the fire department, for the health department, for the building department. And so these are things that, as part of our investigation, we make sure that we don't have an overcrowded house too as well by doing that. So by looking, so that would be one of the issues. We might say, we have this as a 3-family, we see 4 units, we're gonna start asking questions. And it's not, it's, you know, it goes beyond our local ordinances. This is now the state regulations that say, when you take an oath to be an inspector, you say, hey, look, basically, I'm not going to walk by a condition that I know is dangerous, cover my eyes, and let people be in harm's way. So that's no way to do your job. And so none of the people who work for me will do their job that way. And it doesn't mean we're overzealous. It does mean that we're cognizant of the issues. And I mentioned it before, the chirping battery that says, hey, I'm low, it chirps, and we hear it going by. That's a reason to say, Mr. Landlord, while we're walking, we hear a battery that's not, that means your smoke detector is not working properly. By that chirp, what needs to be repaired. And it'd be great if we had a 9-volt battery for them, or the tenant right there for that. And so these are the things we can do. By removing us from that, it's really, I think you're harming the tenant. I don't think this is a burden to a landlord. We probably do 5 of these a week. Most of these are done on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, because we have people on staff, very small, just 1 guy on Sunday, right? We have 2 people on Saturday and 2 people on Friday. But they're available to accommodate, so it's not like we're holding up. I'd be so concerned about this. If I was holding people up from getting into apartments, that would be an issue with me. So if I said, hey, I can't get there, you need someone out on the 30th and someone in on the 1st, we're going to accommodate that. There's no reason we can't accommodate that situation. Now, you might find a situation where these people are in potentially a situation where that shouldn't be rented. Well, we're going to ask that get fixed. And if it gets fixed on Saturday, we're there on Sunday. So we, as a city, have designated funds to take care of this and make sure that people are safe. And we do a very good job at it. And this habitability thing is something that you're going to find in 99% of the cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts. This is a great idea. It makes sure that minimum standards are met. And there's a lot of comfort. And that means less emergency calls to at least the fire department. Maybe not the police department, but at least the fire department isn't getting a call about a fire that started because someone used an electric heater because they didn't have heat in the house. So these are the things we address when we go in there. And we're very fair about it. We're very fair. There's no, before you go in there, there's no fines. It's a list. You get a list, and when you're done with the list, you call us back, we go back, and we give you a certificate that you've corrected it. We're not fining anybody. This is an empty apartment. If we go in a full apartment, then it's a different story. We have people in that situation in which we need to take action. Now, our action is usually warning. First thing is a warning, notice to correct, a designated time, 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days. Correct those in that order, and we don't have an issue. We thank you. We appreciate people who work with us. But you'll find that many people are absentee landlords. They're not putting their time and effort in this community, and those people are typically the ones who show up 3 months later and try to fix something after we've asked them to do it right away. And we're stepping up enforcement. The mayor has asked me to step up a task force organization that will, and we're going to begin this by, under the building code, Section 110 of the building code allows, requires homeowners of residential property, 3 families and above, to have an inspection once every 5 years. And the inspection is typically of the interior egress systems, the stairs, exterior stairs, doors, smoke detectors. If we find more, we dig a little deeper. If it's dangerous, we got to find out what's going on. If people come out of their doors complaining that they don't have certain things, we're going to listen. So we're about to embark citywide on this 110 inspection plan, in which we're sending letters out, requesting inspections, and going through the process. So a lot of this will be brought in that way on some of these illegal, we'll find a lot of illegal units, a lot of illegal build-outs, and we'll find a lot of violations of the sanitary code. So things are going to rev up.
Any other questions?
Just a couple questions.
Sure, go right ahead.
I had 3, but I only wrote down 2, but I just wrote down another one, so I got 3. That meant, but I have 4, but one is I forgot what it was. When you had indicated that you go by and you look at section, 1, 2, 3, and then you say you look at 4 and you have no 4. And I couldn't think of that happening, so let me go back to a 2-family house, 1,
Sure.
2, and an attic, okay? So, I mean, it's an attic, and when you say it's an attic, are you gonna go look in the attic?
We'll see what typically happens. If you had an old 2-family house, you'd have a nice first floor, only on the first floor, and then you'd go up to the second floor, and you'd hit that door right at the top of the stairs, and you're in the unit.
Yeah.
And that unit, inside that unit, you'd have a set of stairs that go to the attic, right?
Okay.
So now you're within the second unit, in the second floor, and you don't go out to the common area to get to the third floor. The very easy retrofit that we see all the time is you imagine yourself going up to the stairs to the second floor. The second floor door is now pushed in, allowing you to hit those attic stairs and go up. Now it's a new unit.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Well, I mean, if it's an attic,
Well, you call it as a third floor, it's an attic, but it's a habitable dwelling unit that is not recorded by the city. It's not safe. We haven't never inspected it. We got plumbing, we got gas, we got electrical.
but would you check all the attics? I mean, no one living there. It's not a,
No, we become suspicious when our records indicate it's a 2-family, and we walk up to that second floor and we see another apartment upstairs.
oh, another apartment, okay, yeah.
Yes,
that
that's
would-
when our lights go off, and we
Yeah.
say, there could be something
yeah.
else going on
When
here.
you see
that we need to
carpeted
check.
stairs, boots at the top of the door and stuff like that, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But if it's just an attic, there's
No.
nothing up there, maybe
No.
some storage?
Typically not, no, typically not. If it's a storage area, typically not in the attic of a second-floor apartment, no, we wouldn't be going up there.
Apartments, I
No
understand.
habitation up there, no habitation, no heat, nothing to check.
The chirping of the alarm, you went back
Yes.
down by the first floor and you heard the alarm going off?
Yes.
Do you say, fix that, or do you want to inspect the apartment?
Well, we might knock on the door. We might say, is someone living in there? Right?
Yeah.
If it's habitable, right, even if it's not habitable, it's supposed to have an alarm system,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. But we want to know, is somebody living in there? That's the next thing is, who's at harm here? Is it a negligent tenant who pulls the battery out all the time? Because that's what we see 90% of the time. The battery chirped, I made French fries, I took it out. I put it back in, it's chirping. So we are curious about that. That's
Okay.
our job. So if it's a chirping battery, to me it means the life safety system that protects the tenants or any occupant of that house is not working properly. That's what that means to me. And just right there, I say, I need to know more. Can I look? We can't barge in. We can't. We ask for entry. Now, if we are suspicious of something, and this is kind of the way it works, if we see code violations on the outside of your house, I see birds getting in, I see rodents, I see broken glass, I see falling down porch. All those exterior violations allow me to ask you to come in, okay? If you refuse to let me in, all those violations allow me to go get a warrant to enter, okay?
Okay.
And that's how that works. Most of the time, people say, yeah, let's work this out. And that's what we're all about. It's a lot of trouble to get to be in a boxing match. Not interested in it, would rather have you help me help you.
Okay, and my last question was, you had mentioned, I don't know, 4 families, I know, you inspect, you're gonna inspect all the houses in Everett that are above 3 families? That's what you
Yes.
wanna do?
Yes.
Okay, and, so a 4-family, would a 4-family be one in which you had the first floor, 2 apartments on the second floor and the third floor, you consider that a 4th floor?
Well,
4
it would be a
families?
4th dwelling unit.
Okay,
So, the building code says anything over 3 families. 3 families and above are what we call an R2 use in the building code. Building
you're
code
talking
says.
about rooming houses and places like that.
Yes, we do those once a year. The
And-
rooming houses get done once a year with their licensing. Before the council votes, we've seen it with the fire department, making sure everything's operational. We make sure that the smokes work. We get reports on all the sprinkler systems.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Mr. Chairman,
Great.
thank you very much.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Excuse customary thanks. Thank you very much. The pieces before you. What is the pleasure?
This, that we see here now, it says, at the last meeting, Councilman Marchese agreed to work with the city clerk, Cornelio, on drafting the appropriate amendments prior to his meeting. What are we talking about there?
I think these changes that he requested. So we've heard from Mr. Sopa and the concerns that he would have with the changes in the language. So there's a couple of different courses of action we could do. We
I'd
could
rather leave it in the meeting.
leave it in
I'll make a
committee,
motion
give
that
the
remain in
sponsor an
committee
opportunity.
So
Okay.
Mr. Marchese has a chance to
Okay.
review.
Is there a second? Moving second to request further time so that the sponsor can take another look at this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, that brings us back to item number 1.
Is Colleen here for something?
Just in case
Oh,
we
she
have any
just likes
questions.
Likes to come in, okay.
So thank you.
Good for her.
Right, item number 1, to prohibit any, this is a ordinance up by Councilman Marchese and Capone, to prohibit any contractor from obtaining any contracts or permits from the city of Everett while a public contract project they are working on for the city is delayed, unfinished, or over contracted budget.
This is going to need more work, so the chair would request a motion to grant for the time.
Yeah, I see the letter that we have from the mayor.
You can read that if you'd like. Want to read that?
It makes some sense,
Yep.
it does. But
Was it, oh, okay.
I think it's something that we still want to do a little bit more work on and
Sure.
everything, And I know we've had a lot of problems with it and everything, and I know that we have had contractors that have been working simultaneously on 2 or 3, maybe even more projects, And if they're back on one, what do we do? Is
Right.
there going to be legal entanglements, Are we going to find out suits back and forth, fighting, jumping up and down, and all
Yep.
that kind of stuff?
There's a
So
lot here.
just leave it here for another meeting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and we'll work on something.
Yeah.
So the motion would be to grant the request further time in committee. Is there a second? Moved and second to request further time. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Opposed? The ayes have it. Grant further time. Item number 4, I believe, is the next item.
Item number 4, this is ordinance up by Councilman Napolitano. Be it ordered that the Everett City Council hereby accepts the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 53G of the Mass General Laws, which allows for the imposition of reasonable fees for the employment of outside contractors.
Mr. Clerk, this was in the committee before. What was the concern last time around?
It was,
Actually, Councilman, we were going to want to pass, but we wanted a couple of weeks.
To review it. I'm sorry.
yeah. it
Then,
was
Counselor, why
it
don't
was
you take the
amount
floor?
of fees that we had, and I just get concerned, because I was in that position, that, we just keep upping those fees and upping those fees. And we compare them to other towns.
No, this has company.
Am I reading the right thing, item number 4?
Yes. This is inclusive on a contract, and this is.
In the event that we have to employ an outside,
This is the fee schedule that we want to pass in a couple of weeks.
yeah. So this isn't something that someone would have to pay for a license or permit fee. If I have it right, this is authorizing the city to impose reasonable fees on a contract if we have to bring an outside party in.
I'm sorry, okay. So, and I have beef with that one too, if we are going to, have someone fix something over here and we say, okay, contract is for $20,000, but we're gonna charge you a fee, and the fee is gonna be 1%.
Do you want to have the city solicitor before us? Maybe she could explain it?
Okay, if she knows, yeah, okay.
So if we could please have Madam Solicitor before us?
No, but my whole idea was, come up. My whole idea was that, if we're gonna charge the contractor $20,000 and then add 200
Sure.
onto it, he's gonna say, he knows that, so he's gonna make the contractor 2,200.
Yeah. Can you speak to this,
Sure.
just to give us a
Sure.
clarification on what it's all about?
So the planning board and the zoning board use this, they've adopted this in their bylaws. So if we have a land developer, a big land developer coming in, and they're gonna build like a big, huge residential development, and so we have to hire a consultant to review the building plans. We can have the developer pay for the consultant, so no money comes out of the city's pocket to help with this big, huge project. So all that is allowing the city to say to the developer, we need to hire this company to review the building plans because we don't have enough manpower to do it, and you're gonna have to pay for it. That's what that is. Or peer review. If a big developer is in site plan and they have this very complicated traffic plan and we need somebody to review the traffic engineering, then the developer will have to pay the traffic engineering consultants that we hire to review the plans. So that's what that is.
If I may.
Sure, absolutely.
Don't we do that now on our own? We were saying that was just too much is coming along at one time.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool for a city to use to, it's more, if we adopt this section of the law, then it's a mandate. And the developers are on notice that, this is something that they're gonna have to do if
Yeah.
we find it necessary.
Okay, so but we're gonna charge the developer for it.
The developer pays for the
Developer
city's
pays
use
for
of the
it.
consultants.
They would know we're gonna do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I'm just saying, why wouldn't their price be including that? To get that?
Well, because they don't know what the consultant is gonna charge the city either, like, we're using, a consultant for, and it's a little different because it's the casino and we have a host agreement, but it's on the same idea. We're using, a company for all the plan reviews. We're using, we hired, inspectors, so they're paying for the inspectors. These big 500-plus unit developments that are coming, we're using, consultants to help us with the plan reviews for that, and the developers are paying for that, so.
No, okay, I just somehow was feeling that, somehow the city's gonna get involved in the cost of what this project is gonna be. And if we're hiring the contractor, he's gonna include that in his price, but you're talking about outside contractors doing work for outside people. I guess that explains it
Okay.
much better. Thank
Any
you.
other
Thank you.
questions?
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, no questions.
Mr. Guzman, thanks. Thank you very much for clarifying that. The piece is before you.
It's number 4, right?
This is number 4.
Make a motion that we refer it back to the board with favorable action. Favorable
there a second on that?
recommendation.
So moved and second to refer item 4 out to the body with a recommendation for favorable action. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Clerk will read item 5. Now, I think 5 and 6, the city engineer. Okay, so, okay. So number 5 and 6, the city engineer was going to be here to talk on these pieces. So the chair would entertain a motion to suspend the rules, take them collectively, and
Yes. Make a
and
motion to
grant
take,
further, and request further time.
5 and 6 collectively, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So we'll have the clerk read them, and then we'll entertain motions on
Right.
those.
All right, item number 5, this ordinance up by Council Napolitano, be ordained by the Everett City Council that the revised ordinance of the city of Everett be amended as follows. Chapter 15 is hereby amended by deleting the chapter in its entirety and replacing it with a new chapter 15 as follows. Chapter 15, sanitary sewers and storm drains. Item number 6 is an ordinance up by Council Napolitano. Be it ordained by the Everett City Council that the revised ordinance of the city of Everett be amended as follows. Article 1, general provisions. Article 2, discharges to the municipal separate storm sewer system. And Article 3, stormwater management and land disturbance.
Okay, and where the city engineer was not able to be here, the proper motion would be to request further time on items 5 and 6.
Can we also, Mr. Chairman, get
The information.
the ordinance that they're talking about?
Yeah, I
For
think
both of these?
Well, we did have a packet on each of these pieces, and I think the city engineer was going to come to explain it, I think further clarification. I think that he was actually even going to have somebody with him, right? Oh, at the regular meeting, okay. So we granted further time on this point. What were we doing? Yeah. Okay. So how did it end up back in committee?
Yeah, that's
Because wasn't this on our general meeting?
Recommended out with no recommendation.
Okay, so it went out.
The rest of the members referred it to, not with the favorable recommendation.
Right, with no recommendation because we didn't have, exactly. So it went out to the body. Did we vote on the meeting to kick it back into committee, or did it end up on our agenda in error?
That's why I'm asking. I saw these on the agenda.
That when Mr. St. Louis was here the other night?
Yeah. He was going to have somebody with him that was going to be able to address this, I think. So maybe we refer it out with no recommendation and to the body, because it's a pretty big deal.
At the last meeting, was it referred to the next meeting?
I
Postponed to the next
I
meeting?
thought it was, so I don't know if,
We had a committee with no recommendation.
so I don't know if it's on the agenda in error,
But-
as opposed to,
But it was read at our last council meeting, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Did we have it?
it
Okay,
was.
So at our last council meeting, did we refer it to our next council?
I
meeting?
think we did. I think it's on our agenda in error. Should we just, just to be safe, just refer it back out? Yeah, I think we should do that just to be safe, just in case by
Yeah, so
some
get the-
fluke it came back in here. I don't think it did, but,
If there's a reason why we're on the back end, we can.
yeah. So refer it.
Make a recommendation, Mr. Chairman, to say item number 5 and 6, to refer it out with no recommendation and to be included with, if they're the former meetings that the former items that we had before us. So if they are, they're just collected together.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion? It's moved and second to refer out with no recommendation to be treated with the other items that might be on our prior agenda. All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. The final item is item number 7.
Yes. Item number 7, this is a resolution up by Council DeFlorio and McKinnon, that the city look into the possibility of regulating Airbnbs.
This is the first time this is in committee, I believe, right?
Yes, and I believe this, yeah, they will recognize.
Okay, so, yeah, we have it on our sheet here. The city clerk had mentioned he's got something in his office that he's working on drafting for this piece. He's unavailable this evening. It's up to the body what you want to do.
If I don't want to sound stupid.
Council
but,
Hanlon?
I was talking over my business with people that asked me what's going on, and I said the BNBs, and they said, "What's that?" And I said, "I don't know." And then they said, "Well, what's the Airbnbs?" I said, "I don't know that either." So, what are they? What
I
is
think
it?
there's a bed and breakfast. Yeah,
What is
so, a bed and breakfast.
Oh,
People like to work, their houses, their
Into-
apartments, and
Yeah.
into these places.
So people are getting really creative.
where's the bread and breakfast come from? What is?
Well,
That's just true.
yeah, yeah, so, you
What are you
take,
talking about? That kind of an apartment?
Well, instead of it being an actual apartment, it'd be like a bed and breakfast where people would stay there, kind of like mini hotel type of thing. You get
Like we have up in Vermont, all over the
exactly,
place. bed and
exactly,
breakfast. Okay.
exactly. I think people are getting creative and trying to find another means of income, generating income.
What's an air bed and breakfast?
It's just, it's.
Captain by plane?
Is it? Oh, is that what it is? Airbnb?
All right.
They're the ones that.
Okay. So I would recommend.
Make a recommendation that this remain in committee, waiting for whatever the city clerk is going to work on and bring us and show us the draft of that thing so that
Yeah,
we can
it
get a
sounds-
good idea what it is.
Sounds
Okay.
the right
Bed and
thing.
breakfast.
Is there a second on that?
The next meeting, since our meeting night got taken by the executive office, we're
Okay.
gonna do it on a Wednesday, October 3rd, in 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. So on this piece, let's vote on this piece, and before we adjourn, we'll address that. So council made a motion to request further time.
Right.
And seconded, it's moved and seconded, request further time. All in favor?
Until the city clerk brings us the
Okay.
draft.
Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Now, our clerk was talking about scheduling.
Our meeting night was gonna be October 4th, but
We were going to do something on the 4th?
we got rules to school finance meeting was gonna be that week.
Okay,
So we're gonna do it on Wednesday, October 3rd, so that we can get the items on
okay,
the next regular meeting agenda.
okay. I know I am not available on the 3rd, but you can still have the meeting without me. So, I am available the 2nd. Does October 2nd work for the membership? It's a Tuesday.
A Tuesday? Doesn't bother me.
Okay, does that work for you,
I
Council?
mean, I don't know until I get home and check my calendar,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. So you want to tentatively schedule for
Yeah,
October
we'll try
2nd?
to get it in the week before the regular meeting.
Okay.
And we've always been trying to do Mondays and Wednesdays, Mondays and Thursdays, right? Because of the schedule.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, so-
okay, so we'll tentatively schedule it for the 2nd. You can check your schedules, and if there's an issue, we can always reschedule it. Okay? So, given that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Mr. Chairman?
Was there something else? Yeah,
September 27th is what the next,
okay. Well, we can talk about that out. So, moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. You have adjourned.